Hello viewers, this is your host Apur once again for you, and today we have a very special guest with us, none other than Punit Gandhi. He has closely worked with the government of India, and he has a bucket full of all the experiences that we have been talking about earlier. That we are getting an ex-entrepreneur who will share his experience with us. Let me tell you about ourselves too, sir. We are the student of NITK, as you must be aware of it because you are also alumni of NIT Surat. So,
Yes,
can you tell us about yourself, sir, and what project you're working on right now?
sure. Thank you so much, Apurva, for inviting me and to this podcast. I hope I'll be able to help you guys as much as it has helped me in learning new things. So I am currently working on multiple things. I have just finished. So last year we just finished couple of policy papers, specifically the one that India submitted to UNFCCC on low emissions, long-term low emissions development strategy for India. So we were working on its urban sustainable urbanization chapter. Now we are working on a couple of workshops that we are planning to do with cities to help them understand how can they integrate climate action in their day-to-day lives, and specifically on the lines of their professional duties that they do. And one of the biggest tasks that we are doing right now is under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs mandate, there is Urban Outcomes Framework, which maps cities on four different projects or four different things, which are your ease of living index, your municipal performance index, our data maturity assessment framework, and climate smart cities assessment framework. So my work, which is affiliated to Climate Center for Cities,
Mhm.
uh, is around climate smart cities assessment framework, and we are currently coordinating and doing data analysis for 200 plus cities in India on how they are progressing across different climate indicators, how can they progress ahead, and things like that. So yeah, it's been an interesting day as well. So I think as we move forward, I think we'll be able to unfold a lot many more things.
So that's a very busy schedule that you are so much work you are going with, sir. Uh, can you tell us about the entrepreneurship journey that you had, sir?
Sure, I'll be happy to. So my entrepreneurship journey started just after I had done my master's in uh, sustainable energy technology. I think this was back in 2013. I had enrolled in a course and I had gone till that time. Renewable energy systems were still not too prominent, but I was interested to learn, so I took a master's in the same from the Delft University of Technology, Netherlands, because at that time Netherlands was one of the pioneers in renewable energy systems. So when I took it and come in 2014, and we see a plethora of changes coming into the Indian ecosystem, all of a sudden our targets have increased to 100 gigawatts of solar. Now I'm learning all these things over there, and at the same time, there's so much of action going on in India that let's put it, I got a proper FOMO over there. That oh shit, I'm missing out on the boat and bandwagon that India has right now. And I, as soon as I finished it in 2015, I moved back to India, but I had no idea where to start, what to do, how to do it. I just knew that I know this field and India is working on this field, so let me try to find out. So initially, I think for first 3 months, I worked with Auroville Consulting. There's a firm in Auroville, Pondicherry, and they helped me understand. And I was doing a project for them on mapping how is the rooftop solar policy scheme across India in every different state, which helped me realize, okay, there's huge potential. Then there was another company inside Auroville itself called Sunlit Future, where I started working on installing solar panels. So uh, a month or two into the same, and I realized that okay, this is a big opportunity space that no one is tapping in, and I'll work in this field and I'll develop my business in this. So luckily, I also had a business partner who was studying with me in Delft, but also moved back to Bombay, and he always wanted to stay in India. So he moved back, and we both decided, okay, let's start something in this sector. And where I was working, I told them that they were predominantly in the southern part of India. So I told them that I want to do the same thing in western part of India. So because we were planning to start something in Bombay, and they provided us with full support. They knew that the market was huge. There were many players that can come in and uh, take up this thing. So they made sure that I get trained properly. And I think within 6 months, I was on ground installing solar panels in the harshest of heat of the southern India with full humidity, learning how to install, how to design, how to install the panels physically, as well as the electrical systems that are required to be done. Uh, and that's what I brought back to Mumbai, and that's when I think in 2016 June we started off our company, June or July somewhere, and that's how we started off our journey here, which has been an exciting journey for sure, I'll say.
Sir, as you said that you were aware of that there are going to be many competition. How you tackle that situations?
Yeah.
What you thought that what was your mind process that we are going to be above them by this thing or that thing? What was different for us?
So I think while competition would have been an issue, our biggest barrier was not the competition. We were also looking at it on the lines of uh, how do we make sure that all the customers understand what this technology
Oh,
is? That was the first part. Because customers still didn't know about what's happening, what's going on. Everywhere there is a buzz that, oh, solar is coming, things on those lines. But customer did not know what to do with solar. How
mm,
do we even think about going for solar at that time? Another biggest challenge, I would say, and technically this was bigger than the normal customer challenge, was electricity distribution company did not know what to do. So while a policy has come in place, I'm talking about 2016, let's say end of 2016. It's been 2 years since policy has come in place. Uh, I'm in a city like Mumbai and its outskirts, and I'm still struggling with the electricity departments over there, that for them to understand what is solar, they are not yet prepared. Uh, and then helping them understand technicalities of it, what works, what does not work. Uh, Going to the point that uh, they were still not prepared for. So till now, one of the biggest thing in solar is, and which was being pushed, was net metering for rooftop sector. So net metering, if I have to simply say, is a meter which can help you uh, take electricity from the grid as well as give it back.
mm,
And with that, you are basically able to earn money, or let's say compensate your electricity bill, so that if you are not utilizing any additional electricity, you can give it back to the grid, which you can again utilize at night or other days or other months. So those kind of systems, electricity grids, distribution company were still not aware of, especially the meter. So when we were even installing one of our first systems in Bombay, or Bhiwandi area, outskirts of Bombay technically, uh, we had to go through that whole process for 6 months for just explaining the distribution company, procuring the meter by ourselves, getting it tested by them, so that everything is all right and we are not trying to cheat the system. So yeah, I think that was a bigger challenge than the competition. And that time we really felt that
uh,
let there be more players, so that this competition will be good. right now, because if there are more players, there will be more awareness about these things. And once there is more awareness, automatically it will be easier. But uh, we were actually looking more for competition than anything at that point of time.
This is so amazing that you are looking for competition. I never heard of it. Sir, this was very new to us. Like the country like India, what you talk about
Yeah.
solar energy and all things, it is very new to us. And the situations, the up and downs that you face. Do you think that there is going to be any change in future? What do you think that future holds?
Uh, One thing, you can directly call me Punit. Please don't keep on constantly referring me to sir. It's not it's not that I prefer something like that. So from India's perspective, if we have to talk about, I think one of the things that I can at least see is that the initial targets that we had for rooftop solar of 40 gigawatts by 2022 is not being planned anymore. They have been shifted to more big power plants because they are easier to manage and easier to install as well. And then their O&M, because you have to look at that these power plants are going to last for 25 years. And their O&M needs to be really looked operation and maintenance needs to be really looked after, which becomes easier if it's at one spot instead of across the city. So in India, somehow rooftop solar sector kind of fizzled out with time. We have still rooftop, but I will say it's what 7-10 gigawatts in total, uh, which is not a huge amount than what it was envisioned. Uh, and There is a huge requirement for sure. The government is also taking up a lot of projects around these lines and pushing for it. And I think now the market has developed for its own. The only thing now I think government provides at a lot of places is how to evacuate that. But slowly now they're trying to also think around how do we manage such resource? Because the biggest challenge with solar is its fluctuation.
Mm,
Let's say there is a plant of, uh, 1 megawatt. 1 megawatt is a small one, but even 20, 30 megawatt. Now, the fluctuation happens like any which ways. Now, we are only generating power from 8 in the morning till 6 in the evening at the max. In that as well, there is a curve where because sun slowly comes up, the power generation slowly starts rising up at the mid of the day. It's there, then it slowly fizzles out. Uh, in between such things, if there is a cloud that comes in or something, your power drops. So there is a fluctuation in power generation. You can't control these things. These are natural phenomena which will happen in time. So how do we make sure that those things are balanced on the grid infrastructure? If your panels are not clean, their efficiency won't be high and they will not be generating that much of power again. So you will lose out on 20, 30, 50% of your power generation, uh, which is a loss for the power generators as well because they are not maximizing their potential. So those things are pretty difficult. And that is where I feel mega power plants are one of the biggest things that's coming up. And rooftop has gone up. But somewhere rooftop will also have to increase. And if going forward it increases, it will surely be beneficial. There are reports which says that if we have more rooftop, your grid upgradation which is required on the city lines. So let's say cities are one of the major consumers. Outside of city, you have industries which are another major consumers. Uh, if you are generating a lot of power inside those consumer areas itself, you don't have to transport electricity. There is a chance for that. You will have to transport less of electricity. You can't generate whole of power from the just solar on the city. That's not possible. But at least you will have to transport less amount of electricity, so your losses of electricity reduces, which is beneficial. So your grid upgradation that is required with expanding cities also reduces. And that's what we are looking at right now. So somewhere, I do still feel that rooftop sector is important, uh, but they will require a better financial resource coverage for people for it to come up. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. But that's a call from power distribution companies as well as power generating companies. So over there, we can't have much say.
Yeah. Uh, as you talked about this, the rooftop sector, it it shows that you have that futuristic approach. I think, sir, that in India we know that most of the startups get failed. Uh, I'm the MBA background. My background is MBA. I have studied about the entrepreneurship, but I think that having futuristic approach is the only one aspect. What are the other reasons for which this entrepreneurship get failed, sir? If you have any suggestions.
So see, entrepreneurship is a pretty complex thing in itself because uh, it depends on, like, we were a very small team. We were two
Mm,
people who founded the business and one employee. And we also had to dovetail a lot of our business when time came. So we did that as well at those points of time. So I'll say, while failing can happen, I'll first put it on those lines that uh, you need to be extremely agile as an organization to be able to take decisions of what do you need to do, how do you need to do it, when do you need to do it. You need to understand somewhere, especially in the initial time, you will lose a lot of money, you will bleed a lot of money.
mm,
And it's not just for your marketing things, it is also to make sure that sometimes, so again, it depends upon entrepreneurial journey and services or products you're providing. Inherently, a system like solar is very expensive. Not everyone can afford it. Okay, we are talking about an investment of at least 50,000, 1 lakh rupees. Uh, if you have enough land available or enough rooftop available on which you will try to put. This is minimum. It can go up to 15, 20 lakhs as well. So your market is anyway small. I can't just do marketing over here on social media that buy solar.
okay.
Yeah, it needs to be targeted in its own ways. And generally, when you're looking at it, you are looking at, I'm looking at someone who can spend that much amount of money. So I'm looking at someone in 40s and 50s. Now, they're not going to be on your Facebook and Instagram so much to buy business. They will be more, they will trust someone who they already know. So those kind of relationship building is very high that is required over there. So again, you need to be a good salesperson. I would say marketing is
Mm,
not that much required, but good salesperson skills are required. If you don't have that much, there's a high chance you will fail. You need a good team in itself so that you can take up each other's tasks. If there is not much coordination between your team, you might be redoing things which other person is already doing. So that kind of so you can't have egos that okay, I can't do this and I can't do that. You will have to learn everything on your own. You will have, and we were technically an enterprise and not even too much of a startup because while solar can be called a new technology, by the time we had entered, there are already very big players in the market which had a lot of money to pump into the ecosystem. We were small players. So it was more of just technology implementation part. So as an enterprise, we had to make sure that. So for us, there was raising money did not make too much of sense because
mm,
it was a chain. It was you're anyways doing small projects everywhere. How do you raise? On what basis do you raise? You don't have any new technology in it. You can have a bit of new compliances and software that you are using, and that's what makes a difference. But it's not that it's your proprietary software unless and until you develop it. So somewhere that agile system is required. So once we saw that, uh, a lot of things are not possible on installation front directly on our end. I think 1 year, because policies did not work out for us.
Yeah.
While larger framework and policy did mention about this, in June, July 2016, we started. By December, there was demonetization. Everyone was out of cash.
Mm.
Now, who's going to buy such an expensive system? Uh, how do you sell that? Okay, spend 10 lakh rupees for us. You can't, because all of a sudden everyone was in cash crunch. The A lot of businesses which were traditionally functioning with it for the first 6 months. People did not know that did whole solar came under the subsidy part, or the wires and components came in the higher slab. And it's a very, because you have each different uh, system going into play is to be installed. People did not understand how do we map the whole GST thing. So again, we got a setback. But by this time, I think we had then started talking to industrial or institutional clients, and we started working with L&T Finance service. So they were investing in rooftop solar projects, and they wanted technical auditors. Because of the systems we had, the practices we had, we were able to build that credibility that, okay, we can do this work. And that's where we started working with them. And while we were not directly installing it, at least we were making sure that whatever is being installed is installed in a way that they can see 20, 25 years of life. So those things became important for us. So it's a constantly innovating what you are doing, how you are doing, why you are doing it. So at one point we were looking for industrial consumers. At another point you are looking just for banks. So your whole of your pitch changes, of what you're selling to the people changes. So those things happen, and that's super important, I will say.
So it's a combination of your target market as well as the
Yeah,
constant innovation. Uh,
yeah.
but Puneet, the constant innovation required a constant change in our product also, isn't it?
It would require constant change in product, but then you will also have to give it sometimes a bit of time to see if this works well or not. But
Mm.
at least having an option B and C is important. That if it is not working, what will we do?
So we can change our market if it is required. We don't have to stuck on our same product or
Yeah.
same market.
Yes, absolutely. You can change your market. You can always try to see what fits best for you and your product and your ethics as well, eventually. Because you might be like, okay, I can sell short on certain products so that I'll capture more market and eventually I'll make money. That also works on how much capital do you have. But sometimes, and if you want, you can put a cheaper version of all the products to make sure that you have made larger profits. But does it going to help you with developing name over a period of time or not? Because after 5 years, if those systems are not working and you're still in the market, what's going to happen?
Mm.
Uh, how are you planning to do it? So it has a lot of different components to it.
Sir, you also talked about that you had a small team. What happens? We neglect the teams most of the times. I've seen that we neglect the teams. Is it that important or not?
Team is super important, but it's also, see, we had one employee with us. It was not much, but then all the tasks were divided between three of us in a way that it can support each other's tasks. It was never that, okay, we two are the people who have started it, so we are just going to delegate over to this person, because it's not always possible. Uh, this person might be loaded with certain tasks that you've already given him or her. So you will have to take up those tasks. So if I have to develop a financial sheet for certain things, which he was supposed to do, but he or she does not have time, you do it because that's what delivery is required. So you can't keep those ego that you can't do this or that. You have to do everything. Uh, you will have like that's the thing. While I was interning, I was working on ground, lifting 20 kgs of concrete blocks, which will be put below solar panels. I've climbed up with it for 4 flights of stairs and everything. So that's the thing. Unless and until you are fully in the game, for you to understand uh, why this is important, how this is important, it's not easy. But at the same time, because you are leading it, you need to understand those basic frameworks very well, but also look at it from 40,000 feet that, okay, if I'm doing this, is this more helpful here or can I do something in different way to make sure that the processes that are being developed are as efficient as possible in as good way as possible.
So as an entrepreneur, you have to be ready for everything. Like anything
Yes,
can happen with you. So,
exactly. Anything,
uh,
overnight you will get certain things that okay, we can't do this. Now what? So you will have to come up with a new solution. You don't have much option, or at least you will have to come up with a reason that okay, why a old solution is the only thing that will work that you have to buy. So, but you'll have to come up with something.
you cannot just sit down. As you talked about the
Yeah,
demonetization and all the things, there are many ups and downs that you have talked about. How you keep yourself motivated in these times? What happens once or twice we can like work out, but after that we realize that it's only happening to me. In that situation, how to keep yourself motivated?
it's not that it only happens to you. That mindset as an entrepreneur is wrong
Yeah.
because that mindset is what it's your only thought process is how can I make it better for everyone, for your team, for yourself, for your clients. If you are not thinking around those lines, and for I mean everyone, it does not always need to, because unless and until you
Hmm.
don't make it better for your clients as well, your clients are not going to support you going forward. They are your biggest marketeers. They will tell everyone, oh, this is the person who did it for me and it's going strong, even after 5 years, if it's actually worth it for him or her. At the same time, if you're not considering your employees, they're going to burn out and they're not going to work with you.
uh,
But you want to retain them for as long as possible. Uh, and you can't control when they are leaving,
uh,
but you can control how they are being treated, what they are doing, how they are doing, are they growing or not, as per what their needs are. So those are the things that you will always have to take care of. And then comes your part that, okay, how much burnout can you sustain yourself? You will have to prioritize somewhere at some point, taking breaks for yourself as well, because it's not that you don't need breaks. You also need to recharge so that you can be active on your thought process every time. Mm, I'm not saying that you will not have to struggle through it, but you will have to find out ways for you to recharge. It might be half a day break or a 2 day weekend or whatever it is. But those things are also as important. And it's not that in business every day is going to be super busy. Sometimes it's just going to be for a week, 10 days, there's nothing. What do you do then? And then sometimes it will be like 10 days, you have 30 days of work. What do you do then? So it's a very and so I think as a person you just need to be curious enough on how can you make things better for people, and that will work out pretty well to go forward.
so it's more about how flexible you are on that particular
Yeah,
situation. That was a very insightful session. We talked about the market actually, that we have to focus on our market first, our team, which is super important, and then comes us, and we have to be ready for everything. If I'm not
yeah,
wrong, that's important things.
yeah. Means I won't even say that it's just prioritization in this order, but all of these things
Yeah,
are important. It's the priorities will keep on changing with time. but make sure that you consider all these things important and none of the things are just like, okay, this is not good.
Thank you so much for the time that you have given me, for the busy schedule that you have. You talked about it in the beginning, sir. Uh, any as we are coming to the end of this podcast, any suggestions, any last words for the budding entrepreneurs?
Uh, I'll just say that there are many fields that you can start. There is no dearth of fields, and the only way to become a good entrepreneur is to be able to understand and feel what the market is. You will have to go on ground. You will have to talk to people. You will have to talk to everyone on your own. You can't delegate all those things to someone else. There might be times where you will have to design a lot of things. It can be technical, it can be marketing material, everything. But it is just that if you understand those things today at the beginning of your entrepreneurship journey, it's going to simplify your work going forward so that you know, okay, this is how much time it takes for you to develop a marketing material.
Hmm.
This is how much time and resources required to develop a technical material. Pitching someone a new product will take you this much of time. Uh, no doubt these things will go up and down, but at least you have some sort of averages.
Yeah,
You might be doing something wrong at some point, and someone will explain you that, okay, this is how it can be done. So, again, being open to new suggestions, they might work out in a much better way. So, I'll just say be flexible, be open, and be ready to make sure that your slippers are worn out. Until and unless that is not happening, it's not that you can't succeed, but the sweetness of success you will have is not going to be too enjoyable.
thank you so much for the session, sir. Thank you so much for your time that you have given to us. I think that the insights that you have given will eventually help everyone, sir.
Thank you so much, Apura.
Thank you so much.
And this was surely a great session. I'm glad I could come and help your audience. I hope your audience has learned something. And feel free to reach out anytime if you're looking to understand more about climate, sustainability, energy systems. Always happy to help people.
Sir, one thing that I would like to add, sir, I'm sorry that I'm not that good at hosting podcasts as much as you are. So please forgive me.
No problem. I think podcasting is a good medium to know more and learn more. I have specifically done that as well quite a lot. So the podcast I have been hosting called Understanding the Future has helped me learn a lot of things about climate change, which even though I've been in the field for a while, I never knew. So I always feel the curiosity is super important in doing anything. So I'm glad that you're doing it and good luck going forward with it.
Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, thank you so much.
Have a nice day.
Same to you, Apurva.